In the spotlight tonight is Ruth Newbury from Bedfordshire, a teacher. Her specialist subject is historical buildings of England. Brent Peeling from Billericay, financial analyst. His is the Zulu War of 1879. Duncan Mitchell from Halifax, an optometrist, and his subject is British murders and murderers from 1850 to 1950. And Anirudh Chari from Middlesex, a student whose subject is The Adventures of Tintin by Hergé. Hello, I'm John Humphreys and welcome to the semi-finals of the Mastermind Championships. Each of our 4 contenders here tonight has obviously already won a round, and whoever wins this contest will join the other finalists for the grand final and the chance of the big prize, this glass bowl, but much more importantly, the prestigious title of Mastermind. You all know the rules: 2 minutes on general knowledge and 2 minutes on the specialist subject. So let's have our first contender, please. And your name is?
Ruth Newbury.
Your occupation?
Teacher.
Your chosen subject last time was What Katie Did. This time it is?
Historical buildings of England.
2 minutes starting now. Which house was built in 1870 to the design of the architect A.J. Humbert, who had previously built Prince Albert's Mausoleum at Windsor?
Pass.
Built in the 14th century after the original Norman tower had collapsed, what is the unique shape of Ely Cathedral's lantern tower?
Octagon.
Yes, the village of Ensor on the River Derwent was partially demolished in the 1760s because it spoilt the view from which house?
Chatsworth.
Yes. Who was the daughter of the 3rd Earl of Cumberland, who spent the last years of her long life restoring her family's property, such as Skipton Castle, that had been damaged in the Civil War?
Pass.
From which fellow seaman did Sir Francis Drake buy Buckland Abbey in 1581?
Raleigh.
No, Grenville, Sir Richard Grenville. The works of which architect, better known for his invention of a type of carriage, include the Roman Catholic cathedrals of Arundel and Plymouth?
Brougham.
Handsome. Hever Castle in Kent was the childhood home of which of Henry VIII's wives?
Anne Boleyn.
Yes. What is the name of the wooden chalet and the grounds of Osborne House that was built by Queen Victoria for the royal children?
Swiss Cottage.
Correct. Which cathedral, whose construction began in 1880, was the first Anglican cathedral to be built in England since St Paul's?
Guildford.
Truro. King's College Chapel at Cambridge and Henry VII's Chapel at Westminster Abbey are notable examples of which style of Gothic architecture?
Fan vaulting.
Yes, late Perpendicular. Which house near Dorking was the home of the well-known Edwardian hostess Mrs Ronald Greville, whose guests included Edward VII?
Pass.
Which architect's works include the eastern facade of Buckingham Palace, Admiralty Arch and the Cromwell Road frontage of the Victoria and Albert Museum?
Nash.
Webb. Lupton's Range and the Great Tower Gateway, known as Lupton's Tower, are features of which public school building?
Eton.
Yes, Salisbury is one of 2 English cathedrals that have clocks dating back to the 14th century. Which is the other?
Wells.
Yes, at which abbey was a synod held in 664 to reconcile the customs of the, I've started so I shall finish, of the Celtic and Roman churches, especially the method of dating Easter?
Whitby.
Whitby Abbey is correct. You had 3 passes. The house near Dorking was Polesden Lacey. The daughter of the 3rd Earl of Cumberland was Lady Anne Clifford, and that house, built in 1870 to the design of A.J. Humbert, was Sandringham House. So, Ruth Newbury, you had those 3 passes. You have scored 8 points. And our next contender, please. And your name is?
Brent Peeling.
Your occupation?
Financial analyst.
Your chosen subject in the first round was the history of Essex County Cricket Club. This time it is?
The 1879 Zulu War.
In 2 minutes, starting now. Who was the British High Commissioner for South Africa who, in December 1878, sent an ultimatum to King Cetshwayo demanding, in effect, the dissolution of the Zulu military system?
Sir Bartle Frere.
Correct. Which river did Colonel Pearson's #1 column cross to enter Zululand the day after the British ultimatum expired?
Tugela.
Correct. What was the name of the disaffected Swazi prince given land by Cetshwayo in the Upper Fongolo, who played a decisive role at the battles of Mutombi and Shlabani?
Uhamu.
No, Mbilini. Which brevet lieutenant colonel who had seen no active service was left in command of the camp at Isandlwana by Lord Chelmsford?
Pauline.
Correct. What was the name of King Cetshwayo's brother who disobeyed orders not to cross the Buffalo River when he chose to attack the British base at Rorke's Drift?
Dabulamanzi.
Correct. Near which drift on the Intombe River was a convoy of the 80th Regiment overrun on the 12th of March?
Myers Drift.
Correct. The Swiss corporal Friedrich Schiess was serving as a volunteer with which contingent?
A Natal native contingent.
Yes. On the 22nd of January 1879, near which river did Colonel Pearson's column have a victory over the Zulus?
Inyazani.
Yes. Louis, son of Napoleon III, pleaded with which English duke to be allowed to join the campaign?
Duke of Cambridge.
Correct. Which of the 11 Rorke's Drift recipients of the Victoria Cross was presented his award by Queen Victoria in August 1879?
Frederick Hitch.
Correct. 6 companies of the 1st and 2nd Battalions of which regiment of foot were all but wiped out at Isandlwana?
24th Regiment.
Yes. Which private serving with the Mounted Infantry at Isandlwana won a Victoria Cross for saving a drowning comrade while under fire at Fugitives Drift?
Wassell.
Correct. In the Battle of Ulundi, which river did Red Vasbula and his mounted forces cross at about 6 a.m. on the 4th of July?
Umfazoli.
White Umfazoli, yes. After brushing aside Zulu resistance at the Inyazani River, Pearson's column advanced to occupy which deserted mission station?
Eshel.
Yes, Colonel Wood's expedition was able to inflict a telling defeat on the Zulus at which battle just one day after they'd been heavily defeated on Shlabani Mountain?
Kambula.
Correct. And that is the buzzer. And you have scored with no passes, Brent Peeling, 14 points. And our next contender, please. And your name is?
Duncan Mitchell,
Your occupation?
optometrist.
Your subject last time was the history of Halifax Rugby League Club. This time it is?
British Murders and Murderers, 1850 to 1950.
In 2 minutes, starting now. Who in August 1888 became the first of Jack the Ripper's 5 known victims?
Polly Nichols.
Yes, Mary Ann Nichols. With which poison did George Chapman, who was executed in 1903, actually kill the last of his victims, Maud Marsh?
Arsenic.
No, antimony. What was the common profession of convicted murderers Thomas Cream, Robert Clements and Buck Ruxton?
Doctors.
They were. With which object did Ronald True bludgeon to death Olive Young in May 1922, a crime for which he was subsequently reprieved from a death sentence and sent to Broadmoor?
A rolling pin.
It was. When brothers Alfred and Albert Stratton were convicted of the murder of an elderly couple in Deptford in 1905, it was the first such conviction secured by what type of evidence?
Fingerprint.
Correct. In March 1936, parts of the murdered bodies of Isabella Ruxton and her maid were found wrapped in a special edition of which newspaper that identified them as coming from Lancaster?
Pass.
Who was the so-called Brides in the Bath murderer executed in August 1915 for murdering 3 women by drowning them in the bath?
George Smith.
Yes. What was the name of the Home Office pathologist whose evidence gleaned from an old operation scar and a fringe of hair led to Dr. Peter Crippen being found guilty of the murder of his wife in 1910?
Bernard Spilsbury.
Yes. Which murder, a national scandal in 1935, took place at the Villa Madeira in Bournemouth?
Pass.
Who was sentenced to death in September 1946 for the murders of Marjorie Gardner and Doreen Marshall?
Neville Heath.
Correct. How had the Bournemouth chauffeur Thomas Alloway lured his victim, Irene May Wilkins, to a meeting with him?
Pass.
The 1946 murder of barman John Moody became known by what name owing to the place where the body was dumped?
The Chalk Pit murder.
Correct. Who was the victim of the 1860 Road Hill house murder for which the murderer's sentence was commuted to life imprisonment on account of her youth?
Pass.
How was the identity of Herbert John Bennett's victim confirmed in September 1900, leading to his conviction for murder?
Pass.
What was the name of Henry Wainwright's former assistant who became suspicious of parcels he was carrying and discovered they contained body parts of Harriet Lane, Wainwright's victim?
Pass.
Well, I could tell you that one immediately because the time is up. It was Stokes, that was his name. And the other passes, the identity of Herbert John Bennett's victim was confirmed by a laundry mark. Francis Seville Kent was the victim of the 1860 Road Hill house. The Bournemouth chauffeur lured his victim away by telegram. The 1935 murder took place at the village Madeira. It was the Rattenbury case. And it was the Sunday Graphic. That was the newspaper that we were looking for. So there we are. You had 6 passes. You have scored, Duncan Mitchell, 8 points. And our next contender, please. And your name is?
Anirudh Chari,
Your occupation?
university student.
Your subject last time was the films of Satyajit Ray, and this time it is?
The Adventures of Tintin by Hergé.
In 2 minutes, starting now, on what date and which year did Tintin and Snowy first appear in print in Tintin in the Land of the Soviets?
1929.
More date?
Pass.
To which city did Hergé send Bob de Moor to make sketches of the ship that was to be the model for the Speedol star in Land of Black Gold?
Pass.
Mentioned throughout the Tintin adventures, what is the capital of the state of Borduria?
Sohod.
Correct. The plot outline that formed the basis of Destination Moon was the result of collaboration between Jacques van Melkerbaika and which close friend of Hergé?
Bob de Moor.
Dr. Bernard Heuvelmans. What fictional name did Hergé give to the air company whose plane crashed in Tintin in Tibet after a complaint from Indian Airways about giving their airline negative publicity?
Sorry Airlines.
Correct. What name is given to the professor of archaeology, Sophocles' sarcophagus, in the French edition of Cigars of the Pharaoh?
Pass.
In which of Hergé's stories is the hard-of-hearing Professor Cuthbert Calculus introduced?
Red Rackham's Treasure.
Correct. Captain Haddock, despite being honorary president of the Sober Sailors Society, has a definite penchant for which brand of malt whisky?
Loch Lomond.
Correct. Laszlo Carida, the billionaire who's introduced in Flight 714, has a number of business interests, including which brand of soft drink?
Sani Cola.
Correct. What is the name of the director of the supplement Le Petit Vingtième, whose idea it was to send Tintin to Africa, resulting in Tintin in the Congo?
Pass.
Jolly on Wag, who makes an abrupt entrance into Tintin's world in the Calculus affair, is an agent for which insurance company?
Rock Bottom Insurance.
Yes. In which newspaper did the story of the 7 crystal balls appear from December 1943 until September 1944, when the publication was interrupted by the liberation of Brussels?
Le Soir Jeunesse.
Correct. Which art forger was the real-life inspiration for the villainous cult leader Endadine Akas?
Pass.
What is the nickname of the diva Bianca Castafiore?
The Milanese Nightingale.
Correct. Identical in nearly every way, the bungling detectives, the Thompson twins, can only be distinguished by which minor feature?
The shape of their moustaches.
Correct. Which journalist wrote to Hergé about the Tintin adventures in February 36, stating that the book should be in colour?
Pass.
Well, again, I can tell you that. It was Charles Len. And the other passes, the art forger, Fernand Legros, the name of the director of the supplement Le Petit Vingtième, Norbert Vallée. The name given to the professor of archaeology, Philemon, or Philemon, if you prefer, Cyclon. The city was Antwerp, where Bob de Moor was sent. And the date we were looking for was the 10th of January, 1929. 6 passes, and Anirudh Chari, 9 points. So that brings us to the end of our first round, the specialist subjects. Let's have a look at the scores. In 4th place with 8 points and 6 passes, Duncan Mitchell. 3rd place with 8 points and 3 passes, Ruth Newbury. 2nd place with 9 points, Anirudh Chari. In the lead with 14 points, Brent Peeling. So, on with the general knowledge round now, and let me first ask Duncan Mitchell to join us again, please. You have a fascination, a morbid fascination with murders, or
I think
just an
morbid's
academic
about the right
interest
word,
in them? Well, it's a bit depressing, reading for weeks on end about murders and murderers.
This last few weeks, my mind has taken a certain turn that way. Yes.
Yes, quite. Which one is the most horrible of the lot, do you think, if you can separate them? I'm not sure that you can, but...
probably Acid Bath Hague.
Right. And how many did he do altogether?
Around about 6. He claimed there were more, but they know of 6.
So, 8 points with your knowledge of murderers. Let's try general knowledge. 2 minutes on that, starting now. The teal is the smallest European member of which bird family?
Seagull.
Duck. In the opera by Rossini, which character introduces himself with the aria Largo al factotum?
Pass.
Which politician and essayist died of pneumonia in 1626 after an unsuccessful attempt to deep freeze a chicken by stuffing it with snow?
Francis Bacon.
Yes. What was the signature tune of the Glenn Miller Orchestra?
In the Mood.
Moonlight Serenade. Which author wrote As I Walked Out One Midsummer Morning, the second of a series of autobiographical books?
Pass.
In which ancient city is the Umayyad Mosque where John the Baptist's supposed tomb is situated?
Medina.
Damascus. Which seaport on the River Slaney is known in Irish as Loch Garman?
Cove.
Wexford. Which psychiatrist and doctor who specialised in homeopathy was the subject of a portrait by Vincent van Gogh painted in 1890?
Dr. Gachet.
Yes. Which musical film starring Tommy Steele was based on the novel Kips by H.G. Wells?
Half a sixpence.
Yes. What term is usually applied to a loss of bone density which increases the risk of fractures, a condition often affecting women over 50?
Osteoarthritis.
Osteoporosis. In Norse mythology, what type of creature was Authumla which gave nourishment to the giant Ymir?
Dragon.
A cow. Which British explorer was the first European to reach Lake Victoria, which he correctly identified as a source of the Nile?
Speak.
Yes. The A-22 tank, which came into service with the British Army in June 1941, was known by what name?
The Churchill.
Yes. Marcus Garvey's 1920 prophecy, Look to Africa, where a black king shall be crowned, for the day of deliverance is near, was fundamental to the founding of which religious movement?
Rastafarianism.
Yes. What is the common name for the edible tuber Helianthus tuberosus, which is closely related to the sunflower?
Pass.
Which is the only country on the South American mainland to be a member of the Commonwealth?
Guyana.
Yes. Who founded the Northern Irish political party, the SDLP, in 1970 and led it until 79, when he was succeeded by John Hume?
Jerry Fitt.
Jerry Fitt is the correct answer. You had 3 passes there. The common name for Helianthus tuberosus is the Jerusalem artichoke. The author of As I Walked Out One Midsummer Morning was Laurie Lee. The opera by Rossini that we were looking for was Figaro, or The Barber of Seville. 3 passes, Duncan Mitchell, 16 points. And now Ruth Newbury, if she would join us, please. A very big subject, historical buildings, because there are an awful lot of them.
Yes, my husband thinks I've taken him to most of them.
How many have you been to, then?
Every time we go anywhere, I try and drag him to yet another one.
Right.
But not enough. I
Well-
think I've not seen about 450,000 of them.
Right. So you have seen
I've seen quite a lot.
quite a lot. Right. You had 8 points with your knowledge of buildings. General knowledge now. According to the Old Testament, to which people did the giant Goliath belong?
Philistine.
Yes. Which Middle Eastern country did Mohammed Reza Shah Pahlavi rule from 1941 until he was deposed in 79?
Turkey.
Iran. Which early blooming spring flower has the Latin name Galanthus nivalis?
Snowdrop.
Yes. Which bomber of the Second World War was nicknamed the Wooden Wonder because it was partly built of wood?
Spruce goose.
The Mosquito. Which composer's last completed work written between 1860 and 62 was the comic opera Beatrice et Benedict?
Rossini.
Berlioz. What is the scientific term for the third eyelid developed in birds, reptiles and some mammals, consisting of a third movable membrane that passes over the eye?
Pass.
In 1478, the death sentence on which duke was supposedly carried out by drowning him in a butt of Malmsey wine?
Clarence.
Yes, according to the title of Thomas Hardy's novel, which army rank was held by John Loveday, a soldier during the Napoleonic Wars?
Trumpet major.
Yes, which country's national anthem, La Brabançonne, was written and composed in 1830, the year of its independence?
Portugal.
Belgium. In Greek mythology, who was the wife of the musician Orpheus?
Eurydice.
Yes, what name is given to the pastoral staff or crook carried by Christian bishops?
Crozier.
Yes, which prestigious steeplechase was first run in 1924 when it was won by Red Splash?
The Grand National.
Cheltenham Gold Cup. Whose painting Old Guitarist is said to have inspired Wallace Stevens' poem The Man with the Blue Guitar?
Picasso.
Yes, the philosopher Aristotle became tutor to which future conqueror in about 342 BC?
Alexander the Great.
Yes, which playwright's works for television include Blue Remembered Hills and Brimstone and Treacle?
The husband of Beatty. Pass.
Which now uninhabited island of the Western Isles became one of Britain's first World Heritage Sites? Finish the question in 1986.
Greenard.
St Kilda. And you had 2 passes there. The name you could not think of
I
was
know.
Dennis Potter.
Oh, wrong man.
Oh, wrong man altogether. There we are. And that funny bit of the eye is the, or in some eyes, is the nictating membrane.
I'll never forget it.
Indeed you won't. So, 2 passes, Ruth Newbury. You have 16 points.
Thank you.
And now, Anirudh Chari, please. It goes without saying, I imagine, that you read Tintin as a boy.
I did indeed.
What's the appeal of it? Because to a lot of people, there is no appeal. They can't understand it.
I think there's tremendous appeal. There's a sense of adventure, there's a sense of fun, which I think transcends barriers of age and culture.
Was the creator, Hergé, was he a racist? Because he's been accused of that.
No, I think not. He was very much a person of his time. He was definitely a bourgeois Belgian, and his attitudes were shaped by the society in which he lived. And therefore, I think it would be incorrect to judge him by today's standards. By today's standards, he certainly was racist. But his depictions of Africans and Jewish people in particular do not in any way make him racist, in my opinion.
9 points then with your specialist subject. Now 2 minutes on general knowledge. Which West Indian batsman recaptured the world record individual test score when he made 400 not out in the 4th test against England at Antigua?
Brian Lara.
Correct. Jean Bedel Bokassa, who was later arrested on charges of torture, murder and cannibalism, declared himself the emperor of which African country in 1977?
Central African Republic.
Yes. The Appaloosa is a North American breed of which animal?
Moose.
Horse. The title of which novel by Jane Austen is the name of the house in which the central family, the Bertrams, live?
Northanger Abbey.
Mansfield Park. Which Mediterranean island, whose flowers produce a fragrance that carries far out to sea, is known as the Scented Isle?
Madeira.
Corsica. Which pop singer changed his name to Yusuf Islam when he became a Muslim in December 1977?
Cat Stevens.
Correct. Born around 1450, which Dutch artist painted The Garden of Earthly Delights?
Vermeer.
Bosch. Which German diplomat who was ambassador to Britain from 1936 to 38 was Hitler's foreign minister from 38 to 45?
Joachim von Ribbentrop.
Correct. In the title of a classic opera, under what name does Leonora disguise herself as a young boy to find out what has happened to her husband, Florestan?
Pass.
Who was the first woman in the UK to receive the Order of Merit?
Pass.
Written on 31st of May 1669, the last words of which work are, "And all the discomforts that will accompany my being blind, the good God prepare me."
Paradise Lost.
Pepys' Diary. Which astronomer born in Pisa in 1564 discovered the moons of Jupiter in 1610?
Galileo.
Correct. Which Briton won the women's 10,000 metres at the 1986 Commonwealth Games, retaining the title in 1990?
Pass.
In which island group is Guadalcanal the site of the first major US offensive in the Pacific against the Japanese during the Second World War?
Bikini.
The Solomon Islands. For which solo instrument did Joaquin Rodrigo compose his Concerto de Aranjuez?
Guitar.
Correct. Which word for the testing of a substance to determine its ingredients or purity comes from the French word for trial?
Pass.
In the film The Marathon Man, what is the profession of Cell, played by Laurence Olivier?
Dentist.
Yes. And that is your 2 minutes up, and you had a total of 4 passes. The French word for trial is assay. Yes. Liz McColgan is the great British athlete. The first woman to get the Order of Merit was Florence Nightingale. And the opera in which Leonora disguises herself as a young boy is Fidelio. And now, of course, you know them all. It's always like that. 4 passes, and Anirudh Chari, you have 16 points. And finally, Brent Peeling, please. So, a great deal of knowledge of the Zulu War. Yeah. Why?
I've been always interested in military history, and I guess, like perhaps a lot of people interested in the subject, the film Zulu sparked it off.
And do you go along with the idea that the Zulus won at Isandlwana just because the British were incompetent?
They didn't win just because the British were incompetent. The British made a lot of tactical mistakes there, but the Zulus had a lot of lot of courage, they had good tactics of their own, and they fought well.
The Zulu nation at that time, and it was a nation, not just a tribe, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Was formidable.
It was. They'd conquered a certain area of Africa. They'd fought wars against other tribes and beat them. They had a sophisticated military system, good organisation, well led, and they were a formidable force, yes.
Well, you scored a lot of points with the Zulu War, 14. Let's see how you do with general knowledge. El Alamein, the site of a battle that proved a turning point in the Second World War, is in which country?
Egypt.
Yes. Which writer created the Fantasyland Discworld?
Terry Pratchett.
Correct. Which bird gives its name to the 13th movement of Saint-Saëns' Carnival of the Animals?
Falcon.
The Swan. Which city, known to the Germans as Laibach, has been the capital of the independent Republic of Slovenia since 1992?
Pass.
Which Renaissance artist painted the School of Athens, showing ancient philosophers led by Plato and Aristotle?
Raphael.
Yes. Which small, rich sweetmeat, usually served at the end of a meal, gets its name from the French for cooked in a low oven?
Pass.
In which country does the Stuart Highway run some 2,000 miles from the south to the north?
Australia.
Yes. In the Old Testament, which prophet defeated 450 prophets at Baal in a competition to ignite a sacrificial bullock on Mount Carmel?
Saul.
Elijah. Which island group did Charles Darwin visit in 1835, their unique animal life contributing to his ideas on natural selection?
Galapagos.
Yes. Which classic model did Ford replace with the Sierra in 1982?
Cortina.
Yes, according to Alexander Dumas' Pear's novel, the person who grew which legendary bloom would be offered a prize of 100,000 guilders by the Dutch city of Haarlem?
Black tulip.
Yes. In which English city has an annual goose fair taken place since at least 1284?
Nottingham.
Yes. What is the popular English name for Cortaderia, a hardy perennial grass grown for its ornamental seed heads?
Marram grass.
Pampas grass. Which historical play by Goethe has as its title character a Flemish aristocrat who was beheaded in 1568 by Commander Philip II of Spain and has an overture and incidental music written for it by Beethoven?
Faust.
Egmont. Which French engineer first achieved fame for his double chevron gear before beginning mass production of cars in 1919?
Citroën.
Yes. In the children's books and television series, what is the name of Captain Pugwash's pirate ship?
Black pig.
Correct. In which battle in Ireland did the forces of William III defeat those of James II? I'll finish the question in 1690.
The Battle of the Boyne.
Battle of the Boyne it was. You had 2 passes. That sweetmeat is, of course, the petit four. And the city known as Laibach to the Germans, Ljubljana. Brent Peeling, 2 passes. You now have a total of 25 points. So, at the end of the general knowledge round, let's have a look at the scores. In 4th place with 16 points and 10 passes is Anirudh Chari. In 3rd place, 16 points and 9 passes, Duncan Mitchell. 2nd place, 16 points again and 5 passes, Ruth Newbury. In 1st place, with 25 points, a clear winner, Brent Peeling. So, Brent Peeling the winner, and he will join the other finalists for our grand final and may, who knows, go on to become Mastermind. Our thanks and commiserations to the other semi-finalists. Please join us next time for another semi-final of Mastermind. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.
Oh crumbs, it's biscuits on the Great British Bake Off in a minute. And then we're exploring dungeons and an ancient watermill in Britain's first photo album at 20 to 4.